In the Chinese meta, Xiangling is considered to be one of the most broken DPS, being the best 4-star DPS and even potentially beating some of the 5-star DPS in the game. And why? Well, that's what I'm gonna teach you today. When the game first came out, people were very quick to discover that Crescent Pike was a very OP weapon, so they put it on the only polearm character at the time, Xiangling. But it was just not as strong as other character, combined with the fact that Goba is low IQ, this turned people away from Xiangling. However, the Chinese thought differently. They think that Xiangling should be played as a pyro DPS similar to Diluc, which of course later created a team surrounding Xiangling known as the National Team, which of course is one of the most powerful teams played in Abyss today, repeatedly proving its strength in the 1.4 Abyss as well as in the 1.5 Abyss. And it all gets started with Xiangling. Xiangling elemental skill summon your friend Goba, which hit 4 times and apply 1A pyro as well as generating 1 pyro energy each time it hit. While Goba can do really good damage, his IQ is unfortunately too low and making this very inconsistent to hit. And it does turn a lot of people away from Xiangling. Xiangling Elemental Burst Power Nado summon a Power Nado and apply 1A Power with no ICD on it, and this is the reason why Xiangling is considered to be broken. Similar to Hu Tao's charge attack, not having ICD means you can vape or melt every single one of your attack. But the most important factor why Xiangling is broken is actually because of Bennett. Wait, what? How does this make any sense? Bennett's Elemental Burst is well known by everyone to be the most broken thing in the game, giving a lot of attack bonus to whoever is standing on top of it. As it turned out, Xiangling can abuse this Elemental Burst much better than any other character can, and so the character that can abuse the most overpowered support simply become very strong as well. This is due to something called snapshotting in the game, and before anyone comment, wait, did they not remove snapshot? This is why I made a video a week ago precisely explaining that snapshotting is not removed it. To quickly summarize, as long as you cast Pyro Nado on top of Bennett buff, you will have that buff for the entire Pyro Nado even if you walk out of the buff or even if Bennett buff itself expire. To explain why this is very huge, let's take a slight detour and explore the national team rotation. Starting the fight off, you can see that I do a quick melt with Bennett and then dropping his Elemental Burst, followed by a quick triple melt on my Chongyun Elemental Burst while being buffed by Bennett. I quickly follow that up with a Xingqiu's Vaporize, again while being buffed by Bennett. And finally, I switch to Xiangling and finally casting her Elemental Burst on top of the Bennett Elemental Burst. Now, what you have noticed is, at this point, the Bennett Elemental Burst has expired and is no longer on the field. However, that's okay. Since Pyro Nado snapshotted the Bennett Elemental Burst buff, we can actually keep that buff and have that buff for the entire duration of our Elemental Burst. Now, you will notice that Bennett buff only lasts for 12 seconds, if you're playing any other DPS that is. Since Xiangling can keep the buff for the entire duration, the total duration of our Bennett buff is like 25 seconds, which is more than double, and almost no other character can do that. On other character, you might even have a trouble keeping the Bennett buff up on your DPS character. I'm sure you have experienced this one way or the other already. Maybe the moth just moved away from the buff. Guess what? Xiangling don't care. Xiangling's Elemental Burst also have really good ratio and does a lot of damage, which of course is rightfully so because it is locked behind a AD energy cost after all. Not to mention, Pyro Nado can actually melt or vaporize every single hit, and being able to do that is a very strong aspect as we have seen before on Hu Tao. And of course, Xiangling Elemental Burst have much better AoE than other Pyro character like Diluc or Hu Tao does, since it is a pretty big radius on that Elemental Burst after all. This makes clearing forward with a lot of enemy much easier on Xiangling than some of the other Pyro character. However, unlike some other character, being an AD energy cost is actually a very easy thing to fix for Xiangling. And again, because we have Bennett. Bennett's elemental skill have a very low cooldown despite generating a lot of pyro energy. And that's exactly what Xiangling need, a lot of pyro energy. Now you still have to build a fair amount of ER on Xiangling, however it is actually still okay. People commonly pair two Pyro characters together because this lets you get the Pyro Resonance, which is 25% attack, and this also lets you generate double Pyro energy. So your support can generate Pyro energy for your main DPS, and your main DPS can generate Pyro energy for your support. And Xiangling just fit perfectly into a scenario like this. Again, we have to build ER on Xiangling, but once again that's actually worked out. Since you might have heard building too much attack percent is a bad thing because you hit diminishing return. In this case, because we're building ER on Xiangling instead of attack percent, this attack percent is actually going to give us a lot more value than if we were to play other character like the Luke or Hu Tao. And speaking of attack, of course this also applied to Bennett. To demonstrate, my Xiangling currently have 1500 attack due to building 140 ER on my Xiangling. In comparison, my Luke currently have about 2600 attack, however largely because I do have a Wolf Phrasong that give a lot of attack. Now when I do draw my Bennett Elemental Burst, you'll notice that my Xiangling attack damage will now go up to 2320, which is like a 50% boost. And instead, let's take a look at my Luke, which is at 3471, which is only a 30% boost. From the above, you can just see how Xiangling worked perfectly with Bennett, which again is the most broken support in the game. And so the character that can abuse the most broken support in the game become one of the strongest DPS in the game. At the beginning of the game, people laughed at Xiangling getting Elemental Mastery as her Ascension stat. However, because you can vape or melt every single hit, you can actually make use of EM very well, unlike other characters. And so getting EM as her Ascension stat actually ended up being one of the best things that happened to her. Surely it has been a long way for Xiangling. Oh, and did I tell you how versatile Xiangling is? Apparently the only way to play two Pyro DPS is to place Xiangling on one side, since Xiangling is deployable and you can use a different Hydro support than Xingqiu, which is wanted by every character in the game. Now, of course, if you don't want to play reaction type Pyro DPS, you can also play a pure Pyro DPS, which again, of course, involves Xiangling. Now, this doesn't count the fact that if you want to play any cryo type DPS as a melt, for example, like Ganyu, or for example, Rosaria Kaya, you will once again require Xiangling. And so you can see she is fit in so many teams, and building her is of course one of the best things you can do to progress your account. What's even better is that Xiangling is a free to play character. Every single one of you already have Xiangling and can experience what a broken character feels like. So start building Xiangling today. Now, of course, Constellation is not required, but it does get a lot better of Constellation. You can try playing her at C0 and it will work, however C4 is when her true potential get unlocked. At Constellation 1, this will give you 15% Pyro resistance down on the enemy that get hit by Goba. Now, this is one of the few rare instances of Pyro resistance down, since the other instances are like Zhongli Elemental Skill, which is his shield, or simply just using the 4-set VV set. So this is really good and do give you a good amount of damage increase. C2 is like whatever, it's not really that big of a deal, and Constellation 3 is really good. The Pyro Needle getting free level is huge since Pyro Needle is like 99% of your damage. Simply getting more level on it is just more damage. And of course we have Constellation 4. Constellation 4 getting 40% extra duration on your Pyro Needle doesn't actually just mean 40% more damage. Since remember, you can extend that further using hit-like extension, so it is much more damage that you're getting. And if you have C4 Xiangling, you need to build Xiangling. C5 is just a free level increase on a low IQ character, so it's whatever. And finally, C6. Now, when you first look at this, you might think, oh, a 15% pyro damage bonus. Very good. However, C6 is actually pretty useless, since remember the Pyro Needle snapshot, meaning you actually do not get this 15% buff on the Pyro Needle itself, which again is where most of her damage come from. For your talent wise, Elemental Burst first, and then Elemental Skills and Normal Attack. Although I do have to make a call, and that is you actually don't really have to level your Elemental Skills or your Normal Attack at all. You can just funnel every single one of your resources into your Pyro Needle, and you can actually get really good results into it. For weapon, I would prioritize any of the 5-star weapon first, whether it be Homer or Skyward Spine, simply because 5-star weapon are just better than 4-star weapon. Salvo Homelet is really good, especially when you do not need ER and you can one cycle the floor. However, if you do need ER, the Skyward Spine is a really considerable choice. For style wise, heavily recommend Phonius Lens, especially at high refinement. Energy substat help a lot, and the passive really help in terms of getting the energy back for your Xiangling Elemental Burst. Otherwise, Deathmatch is a really good weapon, Black Clip is also a really good weapon. Dragon Bane is really considerable when you have high refinement, and so is Lithic when you have high refinement or high member count. For the artifact, 4-set Crimson Witch is simply one of the best artifacts in the game if you're doing Vaporize Reaction, and so that's the one we'll go with. However, if you're not doing Vaporize Reaction, then what you could do is run to 2-piece for the 2 pyro damage bonus, or 15% pyro damage bonus rather, and then add in a 2-piece Nobilis for another 20% elemental burst damage bonus. This is a really good alternative if you do not have good substat on your Crimson Witch as well. And of course, for your main stat, we're going to be running crit or crit damage on the Circlet and pyro damage on the Goblet. However, for your Sands, I heavily recommend Elemental Mastery if you have enough energy. You will need a lot of ER to one Xiangling, and you're usually looking at the 170 zones. However, if you do have a Phonius Lens, especially at high refinement, then you can drop that potentially to the 150 zones. Because of that, if you're lacking in ER, I'll heavily recommend you going for a energy recharge Sands option. For your team comp, of course we have the standard national team, which is Xiangling, Xingqiu, Bennett, and Chongyun. Now, a lot of people have been subbing out Chongyun for Sucrose due to the EM bonus as well as being able to run the TTDS book, and this is a really considerable option as well. And finally, of course, Reverse Meltium will require Xiangling. However, this video is about Xiangling main DPS, so we're not gonna go too detailed into it. I hope this video helped you understand why Xiangling is broken and why everyone in China is running Xiangling. I'm not here to tell you straight up that Xiangling is broken, but I'm here to teach you why Xiangling is broken. And because the Chinese national team only use 4-star character, maybe you already have this team in your pocket and you can just go and try it out. People go and try it out and they tell me, there's no way that this team is so broken. And then they come back and tell me, wait, why does my level 60 Xiangling do more damage than my 5-star character? And that is just the truth. As I mentioned many times before, Xiangling is broken mostly because Bennett is broken and is just one of the best support in the game, and Xiangling can abuse that fact, so Xiangling become very strong as well. But this means that not only when you gear your Xiangling will be stronger, when you gear your Bennett, Xiangling will also be stronger, meaning you can double dip from gearing 2 characters. Now yes, when you gear Bennett, every character you get will be stronger, but again, Xiangling can abuse that fact like nobody else can. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time as well, so don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, or some shit. See you guys next time.